the more those things happen, you start looking at yourself like, well, maybe it's me, you know? So it took a couple years for me to finally realize that it was me. And that's the most powerful thing is like, you can't control other people. You got to focus on what you can control. The only person you can control is yourself, how you respond to certain situations and react. And when I start doing that, that's when I gained all the power and I really start, moving in the right direction. I stop pointing the finger at everybody else or the situation and start saying, okay, how do I respond, in those situations or to that type of, person.
Shout out to our partner Obsidian by Magma Capital Funds. Their hedge fund exclusively built for current and former professional athletes.
Obsidian works hard to change the investing game for athletes. They strive to perform well in all environments, just like you. All right, so we're going to get to it. We have law number 2, prioritize your mental and physical health. Of course, we have you, the great Brandon Marshall, for our guest. We don't want to date our guests, but we'll say our audience is like kind of young, kind of, in the middle. So give them the background. Played college football at UCF, was drafted in the 4th round of the 2006 NFL draft. Where else? 6-time Pro Bowler.
You've been doing it all, you know what I'm saying?
Doing it all. Of course, now running House of Athlete, and then you got one of the most entertaining podcasts that I personally love to watch. I Am Athlete. So we're definitely glad to have you today. Somebody who you have your hand in a lot of different things, and you're really working.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come back, hang out with you guys. What's up? I missed you guys.
We wish we could have posted the other show, but we was like, look, man, we striving for excellence, and we couldn't do that, man.
You gonna do it? Gotta do it right.
Exactly.
we got our new production guy, Corey. He's the best.
Yeah, Corey, go get him show.
Corey.
Come on. Come get on the show.
Show yourself, Corey. We got Corey. We got Troy back there.
Yeah, he make us look good. Come on, get him. Yeah, come on, get. He make us look good. You know what I'm saying?
Corey, he set this whole thing up. Then we got Troy on the audio and stuff like that.
Yeah, so little bro.
It's gonna be great this time around. But
I'm glad you guys thinking that way. That's where excellent, the details. A lot of people skip those steps, and they don't think it's that important. It's production is everything. I think that's one of the reasons why, we've been successful so early, so quickly, is because, we made sure like the lighting was on point, the audio, and even when we shot it, and what type of glasses are on the table. Like every little thing matters.
That's right. And
kudos to you, man. Like I learned a lot from you, just off of the strength of just watching your shows. We done dropped it.
Got it.
We talking about
we done dropped the whole. That's a bloopers right there. Can we put that in the bloopers?
Also, it makes us good too because it's authentic and real. Like, hey, it is what it is.
Like, God, do we need more tape? We should be good. All right. Okay.
Well, will you sit back?
Well, sit. Yeah, I'm a. Boom. Oh, I think it's tape at the bottom too. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you whoosh, do one of those. Do one of them. Yeah, that way. Shout out to Obsidian. But nah, just kudos to you, man. Like we had our conversations. Just me learning a lot from you. A lot of things that you told me, and a lot of things just that I watched that we kind of just implement into our own thing, and it allow us to reach a lot of success as well. So just kudos to you, man. We really appreciate you for what you have done, not only for your own brand, but you've done for us. And you probably really don't even notice it, but it really means a lot to us.
That means a lot. I mean, that's the goal. It's not only to, build House of Athlete and I Am Athlete, but as I learn, try to give as much away as possible. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, bro.
So out of you have so many different shows, a lot of different guests who are in a variety of different fields. They might relate to sports in some way, but might not be in the big leagues, so to speak. Who has been one of your favorite people to sit down and talk with and interview and really get to know?
I mean, wow, let me think. they're all unique and bring something different. You learn something. That's what I try to do. I try to, I'm learning to be the host and sit in that seat where you ask the questions and you push the conversation forward. One of the things that's been helping me a lot lately, especially the second half of season 2, is approaching the conversations with curiosity, like really trying to learn, like no motives and not trying to guide the conversation, but really just listening. And so, Jake Paul was interesting. That's a space I really don't understand, like YouTube and
right.
How he may go about his business. So that conversation was really interesting. D Wade, that was a powerful conversation.
Yeah, that episode.
Yeah, talking about his daughter, and how him and Gabby is embracing, what's going on in their life and his daughter's life. So that's big. But I would have to say, the conversation between just the original crew is probably the best. So sitting down with Ocho and getting to know Ocho more, and Channing and Fred. So out of all the guests that we've had on so far, I don't think any has compared, like the conversation hasn't compared to just us sitting down and crying together and hugging and laughing. That, like, to me, I would have to start there.
Yeah, I feel like you and Chad have like a unique relationship where it's like it's always a friendly battle. I feel like you always got to be right when it comes to Chad, and he always got to be right when it comes to you. But at the end of the day, like, you guys hash it out. So it's kind of funny to see you guys go back and forth. But I think it also brings, like you say, like that unique dynamic to the situation.
Right. Yeah. You know what? That is so true. We just, we had Tony and Allie, soccer players on, professional soccer players on from Orlando Pride. And got really interesting between Chad and I. We had to look at each other. We was like, bruh, chill out.
Yeah, sometimes I'd be like, are they about to fight each other?
It's like a brother relationship. I got like that brother relationship.
I'd be like, is he about to put this man in a headlock or something?
Yeah, like, what y'all be saying to each other after the show? Like, y'all be like, hey, look, you was doing too much, right? And like,
Chad loves that stuff. See, for me, it's a little uncomfortable for me. Although I go there and I can go there, you know what I mean? But yeah, he loves that. He loves it. You know what I mean? So, after the show, we'll have those moments. He's like, man, it was awesome. Like,
so that's like the fuel to his fire right there. That's how he ticks. I think that's how football. Well, let me not categorize y'all, but that's how a lot of football players are, and people in sports in general.
Right, that's the locker room. You go in that locker room, man, it's intense, and I had to navigate through that. I had a tough time navigating through the locker room early on in my career, college for sure, first couple years, because guys banter all the time, and I'm one of those serious guys. So like, I never knew, if these dudes was playing or not. And it could get really close to that line. Sometimes they can cross the line, but you got to be able to say, that's my brother. At the end of the day, we're teammates, and he just went a little too far. So let me not take it there. So what you see on our show is really the locker room, being able to look at each other and be like, bro, you tripping, you doing too much, or, sitting down saying, bro, you okay? So that is definitely the locker room.
Yeah.
And speaking on like saying like, bro, are you okay? Like, when did like mental health and like your nutrition, I know you big on that. Like, when did that become like a big element in your life?
I think it's always been a huge part of my life, performance, on the performance side, going back to Little League. Like, I remember when I was 6 years old, my dad taking me to the park and running tires, and, me thinking that was the way, and training for the season. And I'm talking about, I'm in Little League. But as you get older, you start learning there's a way of doing it. And so performance has always been at the forefront of things that I did. And 2011 is when it went to a whole nother level, and it started with mental health. 2011, I was in an outpatient program at McLean Hospital. I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And that was the first time that I realized that, I was more than a football player, and that's not why I was here. That wasn't my purpose. So I got on this path that took like almost to enlightenment, where I wanted to, really figure out what was going on in my mind, my brain. And it went from impairment, right? Like I was there working on some things to performance really quickly. Like, damn, like, I can actually, train my mind and develop my brain to be better and stronger, so I went from impairment to healthy, and from healthy to like, all right, how do I go to a whole nother level? How do I get locked in? So 2011 was a huge year for me, and it really changed just the way I approach life, how I think, how I operate. And now it's just to the level where everything matters. And I say at House of Athlete, the 5 things that I focus on, every single day, and what I try to teach people, the fundamentals of health is, train. We're all, no matter what you do, you don't have to be a professional athlete, or you don't have to be, a weekend warrior, but you are created to move. Don't just sit there. So train. The second pillar is fuel, like fueling correctly. I got my food here, like schedule when you're eating. Make sure you're getting your macros and your micros. All of that stuff matters. It affects the physical and the mental. The third is mental fitness. Like you got to have a plan on the side of impairment. Sometimes you may deal with a little anxiety or depression, and you got to understand what that is and how to seek help or how to talk about it. And on the other side of mental fitness is performance. Like I'm a CEO, I'm a weekend warrior, I'm an at-home dad, at-home mom, and I'm trying to take my game to a whole nother level. I'm trying to hit peak performance, meditation and mindfulness. And the fourth is recover. You got to understand the importance of that and taking care of your body. And then the last thing is tribe. I never met a professional athlete or super successful person that made it to the top by themselves. We were created to do life together. So those are the 5 things that, I focus on. Like a lot of times we talk about performance, a lot of times we talk about health, we focus on like big stuff. It's not big stuff. Like you got to put a routine in place and you got to stick to that. Think about the path for us as athletes, right? We had this vision at 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, and we just stuck to the script. And then finally we had that break, we got that scholarship. We made it to the next level, to the pro level. And that's what we got to do in our everyday life. Like, what is that structure? What is that routine? And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, is because they don't have that routine. As an athlete, there's so much structure, there's so much discipline, but they tell you where to go and when to be there and how to show up. You got to figure that out when you don't have a team around you, when you don't have the coach, when you don't have a general manager. And I think that's where people struggle. They don't have that, and that's where they need to start. They want to reach.
Yeah.
Self-reflect sometimes. But speaking of, seeking out for help, as a man, more importantly, as a Black man,
right.
How did you, find that comfortability with seeking out help, or seeking out someone to speak to?
Right. Well, I mean, for me, I was always a dude that looked in the mirror and tried to overcome the circumstances. So I never sat there, you know what I mean? Like growing up where I grew up in Pittsburgh, it wasn't a healthy environment. It was something in me that knew that. When people went left, I always tried to go right or went right. And, I got to NFL. It's tough when you sitting at home and you look at the television, it's like, didn't Brandon Marshall, in trouble again. And that's tough, and I'm looking around like, damn, now there's validity behind what I said or what I did or what I felt. But they don't care about that. And so the more those things happen, you start looking at yourself like, well, maybe it's me, So it took a couple years for me to finally realize that it was me. And that's the most powerful thing, is like, you can't control other people. You got to focus on what you can control. The only person you can control is yourself, how you respond to certain situations and react. And when I start doing that, that's when I gained all the power, and I really start, moving in the right direction. I stop pointing the finger at everybody else or the situation, and start saying, okay, how do I respond, in those situations or to that type of, person.
And how was your family able to help respond to you? And for people who are out there dealing with borderline personality disorder or any type of other disorder that, messes with your mental, how important is it to have that support system from whether it's a wife, your friends, your family, and helping them to understand what's going on with you so they too can then understand what it is that they need to learn and help? Because I think half of the battle is a twofold type thing. You have to understand what's going on. They have to understand what's going on. So then in turn, you can start to get better and they can better educate themselves as well.
I mean, you hit it on the head. Like it's so good, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, right? Um, and obviously, you guys are aware of that. So we need to have these discussions. What I always tell people is you got to approach people in situations with curiosity because you never know. So when it comes to family and friends, and to your question, you have to someone who may be struggling or dealing with living with a disorder, they have to be in a validating environment. And that's even if for people who are healthy, may not, have a diagnosis, the environment is critical. You know what I mean? Because like when you walk in that door, people got to understand who you are, what you're dealing with, and have a process in place. So number one, everyone needs to, have some curiosity about themselves and stop being judgmental and black and white. And the second thing is education. A lot of times we look at people, they may be struggling in silence. They may have behavioral issues, and we're like, man, this is just a bad person. Not knowing that, they're dealing with something that is treatable, or they're dealing with something where they need help. So it's like that level of compassion and empathy that sometimes we miss. So curiosity, education is critical. And stories like this and these type of conversations matter because a lot of people, it's like, oh, that person's crazy, or that person, they don't talk. They're just, no, that person is struggling, And so when you understand and you walk up to somebody and you look in the eyes like, yo, are you okay? Or you're like, yo, this doesn't seem like you. I just can't believe that this is you. Like, what can we do? Is there someone we can talk to? I love you. I care about you. And then so there's a treatment that the patient has to go through. And then there's also like you could say treatment that the family needs to go through and what we say is like, how do you live with someone dealing with X or living with a diagnosis? So it starts with education and curiosity.
And I've been through that situation where I felt like really depressed and down. And I feel like for some people when they're depressed, it's not that they don't have people in their corner. They don't feel like people are actually going to listen to understand them to try to really help them out.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like a lot of people can say, man, I'm here for you, but they don't feel that because 9 times out of 10, if you listening to them, you really just listening to respond, but you're not really listening to empathize with them. And that's why a lot of people don't open themselves up to speak on their feelings and emotions, which is not a good thing. But at the end of the day, I can understand how they feel because I also been in that situation.
I think as an individual and as a friend, sometimes I don't want to say too much because I don't know how to empathize with you, or I don't want to say the wrong thing and then it makes you feel worse. Because sometimes you can tell a person yes, I am here for you and genuinely mean that, but you don't know the right words or what's going to make them tick or talk or make them explode. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I wait for my friends to come to me with things. And again, that's trying to find that balance and not trying to disrupt what's going on, but at the same time, try to
But that's what
there.
Brandon was saying, simply saying yo, are you okay? You're something don't seem right. And then that's when the listening aspect comes in and just say, instead of me trying to give advice, let me just sit back and listen. Because you can get a lot from a person when you just listening to what they saying versus trying to give them advice because they didn't come to you to get advice.
We don't do that. We don't do a great job of that. We're Mr. Fix It, and we always have the answer, and we don't listen. And first, we don't communicate, right? We got to do a better job of saying, yo, this is how I feel. This is when you did that, this is what I felt, right? And then being able to have a healthy conversation. Men, it's all about poking our chests out and being macho. Or if we are hurting and it may have nothing to do with other people, we sit there in silence and we don't say man, I'm in pain right now. And we got to get to a point where we're comfortable as men asking for help. We think, that society and, how we're trained and how we're raised is in a way to mask pain and say, you know what, men don't cry, men don't show emotion. So you sit there and you're like, I got it, I'm tough. And I still struggle with that at times where it's I've been sitting here feeling like this for 3 weeks. Why don't I pick up the phone and talk to somebody? And now I'm starting to connect with more brothers and talk a little bit more. So we got to really change what, our perception of what we think a man is.
Well, I kind of saw you do that on the episode after you guys got into it over the NBA salaries. But what you did was you told your guys why you were feeling how you were feeling. You were like, well, I really got more upset because you guys kind of triggered like, oh, here he go being crazy and stuff like that. Right. And that was like the consensus where you was like, all right, they really got me messed up right now. And so now I got to go harder behind my argument. And that's another thing that men do. And you expressed that, though, like, you hurt my feelings because of this reason. I wasn't necessarily mad about being right or wrong behind our discussion over the NBA salaries. It was the bigger underlying issue behind it that you was, like, called a crazy house and all this other stuff. And that made you upset as an individual. And so I feel like those are things that we're not conscious of as people in the heat of the moment, especially when we know that someone has a disorder such as borderline personality disorder, or they're just a little off that day. Right. There's little triggers and signs, and those were one of them for you. But you brought to the table that you felt
it was insensitive and just ignorant, to be honest with you. Like, those are my guys, but it's like, we're in a time now where we're having these discussions around, race and mental health and sexuality. Like, we're having so many powerful conversations, politics. And so we have to be careful with what we say, you know what I mean? Like, to walk around and try to poke a bear, like that's not what we should be doing. But the reality too is, like, on the other side, like, I got to respond better. You know what I mean? I went back to the old B, I went back to that. No, bro, like, you don't talk to me that way. Instead of looking at them and saying, all right, what you just said was insensitive and it's ignorant. You don't say that, right? Like, you can't do that. So for me, it was a slap in my face for all the hard work I've done. It's like, damn, like, for you to walk around and call somebody crazy and use that as a weapon, like, you don't do that. And so, like, there was a lot of learning lessons there, and it was cool to actually go through that and express myself. And then the dude's like, you know what? I ain't know that. I apologize. I'm sorry. And so that's what I love about the platform too, is like, when we have those moments, we know that if we're real about it and we're authentic, there's other people watching, like, damn, like, maybe we should do that. There's been so many people that hit us up like, yo, after watching y'all do y'all check-ins and checking in on each other, now I hit my homeboys up. Now we do that. So it's pretty cool to see people watch the platform, see how we handle situations, and go through our thought process and then start implementing the things that may work for them.
Speaking of checking in, we actually had our own experience of that the other day with Tay, and last week we had a show, and like, it's like what you say, if you ask your brother if he's okay, and I kind of noticed it. Like, we all know Tay, like, he's like,
he's on
always on 100, like, it's always 100, and like, I kind of noticed he was like at a 75, and I was like, I'm just looking, but I didn't say anything. And those are the things where it's like, that could be too late, you know what I mean? And I didn't say anything, and I noticed it, and I want to apologize for that, first of all, because I definitely should have said something. But like, it took a couple days for us to actually talk about it, and Tay actually opened my eyes to a lot of things, and I appreciate that, because I had a conversation with my mom, and I think relationships, especially in a household, is big with mental health. And I didn't realize that till college, but I want to appreciate that, because I finally, at the age of 25, finally got a chance to speak to my mother about just our relationship and how I want to work on that, because that's one thing that I really want to work on, is a relationship with my parents, and that really opened the door, bro. And I appreciate that, for real. But like I said, like like I said, like, we gotta, if we see something, say something. Seriously, like, if you see something, say something. And I'm sure all of us go through our things behind doors, but like, yeah, bro, like, that's why I just wanted to bring it.
That's respect, bro. I appreciate
people
that.
Messaging me, asking me how to talk to you. I'm like, okay, I'm scared now. Like, calling you, texting you, not getting responses and stuff like that, and just knowing you, like, that's not you. And being said, like, spoke about it. They were like, did he seem off to you yesterday? I was like, he did, but I assumed that he was upset because he had to get a rental car and he ain't have his whip. So I thought that's why he was a little down. And I was like, and I didn't ask because I was more so afraid of the response. But I also know how I react when I don't really feel like talking. I'm just more so to myself, but it doesn't have to be anything wrong with me. I just more so don't want someone speaking to me. So I took that same response, how I would want somebody to just kind of leave me alone if they see I'm not into it, with you, where it could have been a different approach.
And one, I appreciate both of y'all, you know what I'm saying? Because either way, you still, like, you know, you hit me up and you like, you know, are you good? And what I would say is, like, as a man, and Brandon, I know you can attest to this, and even said, I mean, even you too, like, you know, as humans, we bottle a lot of stuff in. And it can be stuff that's happened from your childhood up until this point that make you who you are as a person. And you know, as I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize, like, who I am, why I am the way I am, and now I'm trying to dissect it to really understand who I am. And going through different depressive states, I had to realize that I got to embrace this moment. I got to realize, like, okay, why am I feeling this way? And when I'm feeling this way, don't try to mask it. Because if I mask it and something else happens, and then I try to mask that, when it's time to, like, really blow up, it's going to blow out of proportion. You know, and nobody's perfect, but at the end of the day, I will really say, like, embrace the feeling that you have, and then try to say, you know what, let me live in this moment, because at the end of the day, it's going to go away. If life is temporary, why would your problems be permanent? You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. So the way I look at it is, the next time I run into that situation where I feel like I'm about to be triggered, I know how to control it because I've been there before. And like I said, nobody perfect, but I'm glad that you all checked up on me. Like I said, I was in that depressive state. Even, you know, you trying to have a relationship with your parents. I have a good relationship with my parents, but it was things that I wanted to figure out for myself that happened between them that kind of reflected on me as a man, as a person, that can also reflect on my relationships with people, my friends, women, the whole nine. Like, these are the things that I'm trying to figure out now, because I want to be a better man. I want to be a father, a husband, a friend, a teammate, a businessman, like, but it's going to take some growing pains to get there. It's just like working out, like, no pain, no gain. So if you want to grow mentally, spiritually, and physically, like, it's going to take some pain to get there. And I'm realizing that, like, I just got to embrace this pain to get to where I want to go.
Those down days are okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Facts.
Dope. I mean, that's powerful listening to you guys. Sound like us talking through this. But I do the same thing. That's one of the things I started doing probably like 5-6 years ago, working in a high pressure environment, you know, in sports, professional sports. You always have to be on. You can't have an off day, and you're being assessed every minute. As soon as you walk in a building, people are looking at you, body language, what you're saying, what you're wearing. And so you don't have room to have an off day. So what I start doing is exactly what you're saying, is like, embrace it. I'll walk in feeling some type of way, whether something's going on at home, personal life, business, whatever, or even in sports. People are like, yo, B, how you doing? Not good. You want to know, let's talk, sit down. Because
wait, but what do people say when you do
there and mask it? And it's like, you know what? I ain't gonna tell nobody my problems, or I know, you know, they got their own problems. It's like, no, like, this is what's going on. We don't have to talk about it, but if you're gonna ask me, I'm gonna tell you, so I'm not holding it in. And I felt like that was one of the most powerful things or adjustments I made in my life, was doing that. And then there was times where I would just sit there. You know, a lot of times we don't give ourselves grace and space to sit there. It's like, yo, I'm in this depressive state right now. I don't want to do anything. I would just start embracing it. Like, yo, all right, next day, 2 days, I'm sitting here, I'm chilling, I'm watching Netflix. You know what I mean? And it's exactly what you said. I was like, this will pass. Like, this too shall pass. Like, I've been in this situation before. It lasted a day or 2 days or a week. And then I came out of it, right? And it's just like the ebbs and flows of life. If you think that you would never deal with that, you are mistaken. What is it? 320 million Americans, 100 million Americans are personally affected by some type of disorder, you know, have some type of mental health situation. It's life. It's life. And we walk around thinking that it ain't going to touch us. It ain't going to touch our husband, our wife, our significant other, our friends, our family, our neighborhood. Shit, it's going to happen. Your ass better be prepared. You better learn about what anxiety feels like. Do you know anxiety, the symptoms is the same as like a damn heart attack? But if you feel that, what do? You know what I mean?
My bad. Go ahead.
Go ahead, but like we gotta, we walk around. I said this on our show before. It's like walls hurt and boundaries protect. So we put walls around our finances, we put walls around our health, we put walls around our relationships, and we're like, oh, everything's good over here. That would never happen to us. We would never go through that. And then when it happens, your world is rocked. It's over. But when you have boundaries is like, you know what? I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure we're good. But I'm also prepared for the other side. Like, I'm aware that this can happen to us. That protects you. And then we can get into a whole discussion between happiness versus joy. Happiness is conditional. Joy doesn't matter. It's unconditional. You can still find the light at the end of the tunnel when shit is hitting the fan. So, yeah.
I look at it like in sports, like really. Like in basketball, we be having slumps. You know what I mean? I know I went through a shooting slump before.
Through the slump.
You know what I mean? Everybody in sports, we all go through them slumps. Those like 3 games, 4 games. It's like, damn, I can't hit a shot. Like, and
you gotta start. You gotta
right. Everybody keep shooting, bro. Just keep shooting. It's like, I'm tired of this. I'm going to the rack.
Athlete, that's my company right there. I truly believe us athletes are the healthiest people on the planet. And more people should adopt our lifestyle. That's what I'm scaling right there. Is that mindset, exactly what you said. Man, $4.3 trillion industry. And athletes, like, think about the stuff that we had to go through, like how we take care of our body, how we eat, and then the mental fitness, which I said was the third pillar. People, like, it's not like everything's sweet. Even the top athletes, Tom Brady, Serena Williams, LeBron James, you don't think they deal with that? So how do they get to the other side? Because it's inevitable. All of us are going to deal with something. So for a professional athlete to be on the biggest stage in the world and still perform at a high level when they're dealing with stuff like that, that's what we all need to figure out. What is that the athlete has? Not just a professional athlete, but the athlete, because that's the mindset right there. Right. So I just wanted to speak to that, man, because that's it. When people ask me all the time, what is House of Athlete? I say the fundamentals of health. The thesis I'm working off of is that athletes are the healthiest people on the planet. And that's mentally and physically. So I love you talking about that, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
The slump is definitely real. And I feel like, as me, myself, a former athlete, Brandon.
Her former athlete. It's always
what would you like
elite.
I am an athlete then.
Thank you.
I am athlete.
I say I still hoop. I got a game next week.
I got a rap.
That's law 10.
He says that law 10.
All right, so there we go. So I am athlete. There we go. That's the tagline.
Right.
So anyway, you made me lose my train of thought with that. Somebody else gotta go. Oh yes, the slump is definitely very real. But I think one thing that I learned in sports and in life is we always have that mindset to go through, which is basically like your motto. But when do you think somebody really hones in on that mindset? And what are you telling your athletes at House of Athlete daily when they're training and preparation and stuff like that, what it means to break through that wall? And at what age do you think they really, kind of get that stuff to them to do it?
Well, at the age, this is what I would say. There's a book out there. There's 2 books I recommend everyone read. But when an athlete comes in, definitely shove it in their face. By Dan Millman, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, and Body Mind Mastery. And it talks about like how we should be looking at competition in sports and just our body and taking care of ourselves. But it's those 5 pillars. That's the only thing I talk about. Like, because it doesn't matter where you're at. Like, you could be high, you could be low. It doesn't matter. Like, you put the athletes, we have a routine. That's what we have. We have a routine. And a lot of times we're told what to do. And that's why we get to the other side, because we keep showing up. So when you're in that slump, you still go to practice. You still go in the game and you still shoot. Some people got to be told to keep shooting. But when you don't have that type of structure around your life, what happens is there's nothing holding you accountable, so you give up. So what I tell people is put a routine in place. I call it a championship routine around how you train, how you eat, how you stay mentally fit, both ends of the spectrum, how you recover and how you thrive. Like doing what we doing now, talking. Do that. You know what I mean? Then you'll reach peak performance. You know, and you're not always going to be here. It's impossible to stay up here. Sometimes you're here, but keep showing up, keep training, keep working out. Those are the fundamentals of health. There's a lot of science behind training, a lot of science behind, you know, what we put in our bodies, how it makes us feel physically, mentally. You know, do you know if you're not hydrated, your performance decreases by 20%? Like, come on, like this is the fundamentals. And these are the things that we do every day as athletes. So to answer your question, that I just hone in on those 5 pillars. I teach everybody that.
You know what's crazy? When I was training at House of Athlete, and like, you know, we was done working out, and I was sitting on the floor, like, on my iPad. I was chilling, you know what I'm saying? Working on my business. And Brandon walked by. He like, man, what are you doing, man? Like, you need to be watching film. You need to be doing this. I'm like, bro, like, they sleep. They over here sleep. I'm over here just chilling, working on my business. You try to go on me. I ain't even do nothing. Like, I literally did not do. Everybody is sleep, not doing nothing. I'm sitting down, working on my business.
In your own little world.
And he just going in on me. I'm like, oh my gosh. But Brandon, he ended up, like, he was telling me about a book. It was The One Thing. The One Thing. Yeah. So he told me about the book, told me to read it. And a lot of the things that I learned from it, he was like, yo, like, you know, just focus on this one thing, because this going to help pay for all of it, everything that you want to do. And I was like, all right, bet. All right, cool. All right, I hear what you're saying. And I looked at the book, and in the book it said, you know, you got your to-do list, right? You know, following your structure. You got your to-do list, but then you got your success list, right? And from your success list, what's the one thing that you're going to focus on that's going to help with all of that? So I was like, damn, all right, he right. I really need to focus on, like, this football stuff, like my body. I need to focus on, like, the physical stuff and the mental stuff, because it's going to create that domino effect where everything just fall into place. You know what I'm saying? So really getting the structure together with my life with football was going to help everything else, like, just flow. So I appreciate you, man, going in on me, one. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember that I was like, I can't believe this, bro. Like, I ain't even do nothing, bro.
Felt like you was getting in trouble. Like,
yeah, bro. I'm like, oh my gosh, bro. And he did it in front of everybody too, because you know, he ain't look like he was happy. He was like, what are you doing? I'm like, all right, bro.
because me and you, you know, it's the same thing. Like, we have these ideas and we want to do it, and it's like, you know, the process. You know, there isn't anybody telling you. I mean, you're reading books, you're asking questions, you have mentors, but at the end of the day, you're figuring all this out yourself, right? And so, you know, there's no real game plan to say, how do I be an athlete and also do business? And when do I do business, right? So those are things that, you know, I learned, and I'm just farther along the journey than you are. And that's what it is. It's like, you know, a lot of guys and a lot of people sit down and they're like, this is it. I'm here to play football. No, that's not who you are. It's not your identity. That's not your purpose, right? But it can be, you know, a tool. Can give you resources to fulfill your purpose and play in your passion. So, you know, we just got to know the timing of things. But that book is a great read for everybody listening. You know, One Thing, and the biggest takeaway is for me was the time blocking. You know, being able to put that structure in place around my life. That was the biggest part, the biggest struggle for me when I stopped playing ball, or when I was cut by the Saints in December 2018. Coach Sean Payton walked in. He's like, Brandon, let me see you. We stand in a hallway.
At the office?
Yeah. You know, Michael Thomas and all the Saints wide receivers in the room. Hey, B, let me talk to you. Hey, man, we got to let you go. We put a waiver claim in on this kid. We didn't think we was going to get him. We're picking, you know, 20-something, and he made it to us. So we're going to cut you. We're going to try to bring you back. That was it. That's what he did in the hallway, bro. And then I went in the locker room, picked up my garbage bag, and, you know what I'm saying, that was it. And then I laying in the middle of the facility. I'm like, okay, what's next? How do we do this? What was going on? And so the toughest thing for me was not having that structure in place, right? Like that itinerary. So it took me a year to put that itinerary in place. And that book, One Thing, helped me do that. It's like, hell, there it is. It's the championship routine. I'm gonna wake up every single day until you know what I'm saying, do this thing until it breaks. So
speaking of books, do you have any recommendations for athletes and just people out there on books that help you focus on your mental health?
Yeah. Oh, mental health. So I think those books are really good because a lot of times, and I start there with Body, Mind, Mastery and The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, because as athletes, you know, it is our identity, you know, and it's hard. Like we don't have those conversations because, like, I mean, that's all we do. Like it's just ball, 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 ball. And then eventually the game is taken away from you, or you walk away and you're left just like lost. You don't know what to do. So I think that's a great starting point for athletes because we got to understand that, you know, it's fun, it's great, but it only lasts but so long, and you got to know who you are outside of the game. So those are great books. What else am I reading that I really like? Purpose Driven Life is another good book.
That.
By Rick Warren. And but then I also, but you were specific, but I break my reading down into buckets. Like I have, like now I'm reading about like family office, like wealth, you know, generational wealth, like setting up family office and like how does this thing look 50 years from now? So, but those are two good books on mental health for athletes.
That's dope. Look at you, man, all knowledgeable and stuff. I said, look at you all knowledgeable and stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, I'm trying to be like you, man. I'm going to be humble and say it, man. I'm trying to be like you, bro. I already told you that, though, when I walked up to you. I'm like, yo, I need you to mentor me, bro. And you was like.
Right, that's right. You got it. Y'all just got to keep going, man. And like just some early, some things I've learned, you know, as a young entrepreneur, full-time entrepreneur now, and, you know, building this media platform and House of Athlete. You got to believe. I mean, we hear this all the time, but like even still, I'll be honest with you guys. I said this on the show and we cut it out. But I just worked with Boston Consulting Group. They're the #2 consulting firm in the world. You know, so you see some of the biggest mergers and acquisitions out there. Like you see like a Sprint and a T-Mobile. They're behind deals like that. You know, they work with the top Fortune 500 companies, CEOs, building out different systems and procedures and all kinds of stuff. So anyways, I've been getting executive coaching by one of the partners over there, just pouring into my life. And some big things started happening. You know, people wanted to invest, wanted to partner, wanted to collab. And so it was like, all right, it's time to take it serious. I couldn't tell the financial story. And anyways, we spent time building out a business plan and a 5-year roadmap. Now to sit down with them and do something like this, it's $1.3 million. That's what these Fortune 500 companies are invested in. So anyways, our valuation comes back, right? Because there's a lot of people want to invest in big time people in firms. I mean, a couple $100 million, right? Like right now, that's what it's worth. All right. But I'm saying all that to say this, it's like still to this day with people on my team knowing that and how we ran it up to that, they still like, oh, we're doing too much, you know? And so you have to believe in your vision and you have to believe, you have to go with your damn gut. You know what I mean? Like you obviously team, like that's as athletes, like that's how we're trained is team, and it's being able to be held accountable. But when you're in business, you got to be able to take the information, then you got to go with your gut, right? And so like that's one of the things that I've learned early on is like, you know, you got to be able to see it and believe in it, and it's going to be hard as hell, but you just got to keep going and keep going and keep going, you know, and follow the numbers, KPIs and metrics, have those things in place that can guide you along the way. And then, you know, I think we talked offline about this a couple months ago, but, you know, people first, then the process, then the product. A lot of times we put the product first, people, process, then the product.
Gems.
Not the loan.
Gems. That's law.
Yeah, that's definitely some gems.
you know we got a song coming out. I can't wait to let you hear it. See, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we got a song coming out. Go ahead, download that.
Producing it, or you the artist? Are you the artist or you the producer?
We produced it.
The beat, everything.
Yeah. So make sure you play that song at House of Athlete. Real talk.
I love it.
Yeah.
I just told the guys I want to actually be an artist. Like I want to do something with I Am Athlete where maybe you can produce a song for us.
Well, gang.
I'll get on the track and sing.
You can flow? You can flow?
You can't flow.
Oh, all right.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
do
I'm
it
trying to
right
say.
now.
Nah, you know we can't flow.
Be the funny part. Like you got Ocho, me, Channing trying to rhyme. Like, come on, that's gonna be funny.
He's actually very hilarious. He is a
Cool. That's my dog, man.
That's my dog.
Ocho, y'all are
Fred funny.
Yeah,
I
Fred.
think we funny.
Fred real chill.
But
You
he
don't
was
say
so-
much,
he-
but
yeah, he be so laid back with you. You be like, this man is
Yeah,
something else. He don't say too much, but his points be valid. He be
Uncle
straight to
Fred.
the point with it. Yeah, that's
Like
Uncle
shit.
Fred.
Yeah. But nah, we definitely
For sure.
appreciate you bringing on the show, man. Just providing some great knowledge and just having real conversations, not only with us, but for the world to see. And it's really impactful, man. And obviously, you know, the Mental Awareness Month.
Yeah.
So this is a great thing to be talking about. But like I said, man, I appreciate you as a man, as a mentor. Obviously, as somebody I look up to be in your shoes. So yeah, man, thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep, for
And
sure.
we definitely
Wait, we got a gift
Oh,
for you.
hold
Can't
up,
go
hold
quite
up,
yet.
The red bag. That's what we call it.
Yeah,
The red
man,
bag.
you know what I'm saying? We got a gift for you, man. So we got, hey look, so we got a nice hoodie from one of our sponsors. They gave you something, man. So you know, go ahead and get that right there. Boom. I got your Law Athlete t-shirt. So you know, we might have to trade for trade, to be honest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Coming out with the merch.
Yeah, bro, you know what I'm saying? I'm
The
trying.
all white looking like the Pope.
I love it. I appreciate it. Hey, you know my address. Send that to me.
Yeah.
Can we get an I Am Athlete shirt in exchange for it?
Done. The next, I think I just saw it yesterday. We have a capsule collection coming out. Make sure you guys get something off of that line.
Gang.
But it's in 2 months, I believe we're coming out with a capsule collection. We're about to land season 2, then we're gonna come back with season 3, I believe, in July. So it's gonna be cool.
That's what's up, man. Well, like I said, we really appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Problem, man.
Love you guys. Peace.
Me and my dog wrote this down 50-50, no Curtis. I'm closing the curtains. Stop all the acting, I'm tired of all of the purpose.